Hi, this is Pastor Doug, and it's my honor and privilege to give the devotional for today. I want to start by sharing a story. Letty and I went to Israel a while back, a great trip with a bunch of CBCers, and we stayed in a Jerusalem hotel in the Jewish quarter. And we noticed that the elevators were a little bit different because they had one that was designated as a Shabbat or a Sabbath elevator. I kid you not. And so on the Sabbath, these elevators would go into this mode where they would stop on every floor, open up the doors for 30 seconds, close by themselves, and then go on to the next floor. And so it did this all day long, up and down. Now, why were these elevators here? It was so that the devout Jewish people would not have to work on the Sabbath by pushing a button on the elevator. Can you believe it? I mean, it sounds crazy and it's like way over the top, but it's simply a part of that culture. It shows reverence for this holy day of Sabbath, which means the day of rest. And in yesterday's devotional, Pastor Brad shared how Jesus had to clarify the purpose of the Sabbath to a group of Pharisees, religious leaders. And if you missed it, I encourage you to watch that devotional. And you can get that devotional and all of our devotionals and daily Bible readings sent to your inbox by going to findcommunity.com/Bible reading. Now, Pastor Brad shared that God created the Sabbath as a way to give people a break or a rest from our work. But then over the centuries, people got paranoid about breaking the Sabbath, so that they created all these religious rules to protect it. And as a result, they missed the whole point. As Jesus said, people were not created to worship the Sabbath. The Sabbath was created to help people. And so I hope Pastor Brad's message encouraged you to look at your day off or your day of rest as a way to get reconnected to God, our source of life, and to do life-giving things like riding a motorcycle for Pastor Brad, or for myself, playing jazz on the piano. But Jesus is not done with this conversation about the Sabbath, and so we continue the story in Mark chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, and this is what it says. Another time, Jesus went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Now some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, and so they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand up in front of everyone." And then Jesus asked them, "Which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill?" But they remained silent. And he looked around them in anger and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. Then the Pharisees went out and began to plot with the Herodians how they might kill Jesus. Wow, that's pretty wild, huh? But there's a keen observation here, and that is when you offend super uber religious people, they get super uber angry. And the Pharisees, after being told off by Jesus about their misconceptions of the Sabbath in yesterday's passage, they got super uber angry. And instead of learning from Jesus, they wanted to get back at him, and they wanted to put him in his place. They knew that Jesus loved to heal and restore people. And so what they did is they waited until the Sabbath to catch him in the act. Catch him in the act of healing someone, which meant that he was working on the Sabbath and he was breaking the rules, thus proving that Jesus is ungodly. And then what did Jesus do? He went ahead and he healed a person right in front of them. And the Pharisees went all ballistic and they wanted to kill him. Now, why such a harsh reaction? Well, that's usually how super religious, uber religious people act. They get offended when someone breaks the rules. They get angry. They do malicious things. Now don't get me wrong. Religion is not bad when it connects us to God. But it's when people worship their religion instead of worshiping God and following God, that's going to get us into trouble. And I think as Christ followers, we need to be very, very careful about becoming super religious. If we get offended to the point where we're judging people or keeping track of their wrongs or we say something or do things that are harmful because a person broke a religious rule, then we need to stop and we need to look within and we need to ask God to search our hearts. I know I fall into this uber religion trap all the time. I have to watch myself because it's so easy to point out the Pharisees out there and not see the Pharisee in here. But the bigger point in this passage is really centered around the question that Jesus asked. He asked, is it more lawful to do good or bad on the Sabbath, to save or to kill? And in this, Jesus the King, Jesus the Lord of the Sabbath, was not just clarifying the purpose of the Sabbath, he was giving new vision for it. Yes, the Sabbath is meant to give you and me life, and so we should engage in the life-giving activities. We need to enjoy the goodness of life that God has given to you and me. But my friends, it's so much more than that. According to the King, the Sabbath is also meant for us to bring God's Sabbath goodness to other people. You see, in this passage, it's easy to lose sight of the man with the shriveled hand. But with this shriveled hand, this man could not enjoy the goodness of life like other people because he was disabled. And so on the Sabbath, Jesus, the Lord of the Sabbath, gave this man the ability to enjoy the Sabbath by healing his hand. You see, the King's vision for the Sabbath is so that everyone could enjoy the Sabbath, not just a privileged few. So for those of us who follow Jesus as King, it's not good enough to just enjoy our rest and to celebrate all the wonderful things that God has done for us, but also to help others gain that same rest. You know, you and I might not be able to heal a person with a shriveled hand, but you know what we can do? We can bring restoration to shriveled relationships through the healing power of blessing and forgiveness. We can help people who've been shriveled by the loss of income and jobs through the power of generosity and sharing, like we do with Be a Neighbor. We can restore people shriveled up by life's hardships through the simple power of connection and reaching out and giving encouragement. You see, my friends, our pursuit of faith can lead us into two different directions. It can lead us off into this religiosity where, like the Pharisees, we become judgmental, we become easily offended, and we become hard in our hearts. Or we can follow the lead of Jesus, the King, the example that he sets, where we not only experience his life, his love, his rest, and enjoying life, but we get to share it with others. And in that, we spread the good news by living out the good news and by becoming the good news. So let's be good news today and have a great week.